Watertown Post 17 coach Ryan Neale joins us. And coach, I keep going back to what you said last week, something that stuck with me and really hit home over the super regional games. You said that the boys always find a way. And it seems like last week, your momentum wasn't really on the upswing until you got into that super regional tournament and the guys they found a way over the weekend. They played fantastic in those super regional games.
Yeah, we really did. And I mean, I think it'd make life a lot easier if we weren't having to be on the road and maybe found a little bit more consistency through the regular season to not put us in that position. But that's what we've just kind of went with here as of late is that when the lights are on and the stage is big, these guys have kind of stepped up in the right moments and the big times. And Jackson McClemens and Hunter Halligan were absolutely outstanding in those super regional games. And I think I've made this comment to you multiple times. We're only as good as our defense is going to be, and our defense was flawless. Zero errors in those games, and we our offense, Pierce pitching held us in check a little bit, but we found enough, with some two out hitting that has sometimes escaped us throughout the year, but scratched a couple across the board and, let Hunter and Clem do the rest of the work for us.
Yeah, and those two just fantastic, not only in Pier, but really we knew McClemens coming into this year was, he was probably going to be the one. And then the rise of Hunter Holligan this year as well has just been fantastic. Talk a little bit more about those two as you kind of enter here into the state tournaments.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I think, looking at last year, I mean, Clem, very could have been our, number two, right behind Caden Rylance last year. He was that good and was in big moments. So we had a good feeling, like you mentioned, his numbers had enough data behind it to say this, you're probably not going to get a letdown. You're probably going to get a little better version of him here as he gets a little bit older and I'd say wiser, but it's Clem. And I don't know. He's just, that's what made Clem is Clem. Before taking any outie the other day, super regional game one, and they play some song and he's playing catch out in the outfield. He stops his warm up to start dancing around. And it was just, I stopped hitting infield. I was laughing so hard because that's what makes him who he is. It's I don't know in my 9-10 years of doing this if I've ran into an individual with that type of character, that type of ability, and that type of mindset that just makes him so special. He don't care, like in a good way, right? He don't care if he gives up a walk. He don't care if he gives up a hit. He don't care. He hung a changeup to the Tyson Lindekugel kid at about 385 feet, but guess what? He got caught at the warning track, and he's like, "Good spot." I don't know if that was a good spot, but it's just the personality, and he's having a phenomenal year, leading us in a bunch of categories, and he gave up the 3 earned runs the other day, and his ERA went up from .08 something to just over one. So, not knock on wood here. He might have a record ERA, or he's going to be in the record books for sure with his season here. And then Hunter Halligan, it's just a guy that Travis Schmidt, an assistant coach, looked at me after we won the last game the other day. He looked at us and was like, "There's a reason we didn't cut that kid as a 15-year-old. We just believed and saw that arm and knew that hopefully it was going to show up." And it was just, he hasn't even 18 yet. He doesn't turn 18, I think, until August. And so it was just one of the things with him that he just needed time to mature into his body, let him grow a little bit. Because back when he was 15, we saw that arm and like, we can't cut this arm. There's something there. And, you had to go trust the process, a word that nobody likes to hear because that means you're not playing. But at the same time, I think it's proved him well to trust the process and work his tail off and, be able to have the year he has. And talk about showing up in big games. I mean, go back to the high school season that he had. He did hit a bump in the road and, through the June, but, as of late, and his performance against Pierre was just flat out phenomenal.
You got the hits in the right place as well. I mean, Marcus Pitkin, that second game, he got both the RBIs in that game, and he's got the arm in the outfield as well. I mean, what can you say about Pitkin? He's just been fantastic, not only this year, but for, as long as I can remember as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's a 3-year starter. I mean, let's just say we play 60 games on average last 3 years. That's 180 games. I bet you he's been in center field for 170 of them the last 3 years, just covering ground. A big moment in game one that, unless you're watching it on TV or playing close attention to game changer. Marcus threw out a runner at home plate in the bottom of the first, to keep it 3-0. That run scores. Now it's 4-0. The task gets a little bit harder. So, you know, that's what we talk about, never taking a pitch off from the first pitch to the last pitch of the game. Expect the ball to hit to you so you're ready to make your play or whatever it is, back up bases or do something small. Because those things don't show up in the box scores. They don't show up on the highlight reel. But you know what? That was a massive play to keep that game within reach for us. And then on day two, he struggled offensively day one, but day two, he got both knocks. He came up in a tough situation in the first inning, got a 2-out RBI single, in a game that we knew was going to be low scoring with that wind blowing in, and to get us on the board, and then have the big RBI triple. What was that, in the seventh inning? I think it was, to give us that insurance run, was massive. And he's just a quiet leader, go about his business, and his numbers and everything he's done for us the last 3 years are going to be missed when you see post 17 take the field next year and somebody else is in center field.
Well, let's talk about state tournament before we talk about your opening round opponents. Let's talk about the tournaments in general. Last year going into the tournament, there was a lot of parity. I think top to bottom, anybody could have taken that tournament. And it really showed too with Harrisburg getting on the run and going on their run and taking that tournament last year. This year, they come in as the 8th seed. I still think there's a lot of parity going into the state tournament, but I think there's probably that clear number 1 in 22. And then after that, I think you could throw anybody at anybody and go anybody else. What's your thoughts on just heading into the state tournament and just some of the teams that have made it this year?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree with what you said there. I mean, I think, prior to the super region, I think you take the top one, two, three, four teams, maybe four, but for sure one and two, and, kind of throw them off the side, and everybody else is kind of, right there in the middle. And we could have mixed up super regional um, matchups, and it said that makes sense. We saw two of them go to game three, and I made the comment on the way home on the bus to Alex and Travis that in the history of this super regional, how many game threes have we actually seen? And I think that just goes to show that there's that clear half of the state, and then there's this other half over here that have all qualified, and we're fortunate to be in there. And we keep seeming to be pulling up upsets, and I don't know if we're a fan favorite to see in the postseason time because we seem to show up over the last couple of years. So. But yeah, Rapid, we've played with everybody. We lost a 4-3 game to Rapid City earlier in the year. We beat Sioux Falls West earlier in the year. We've played close games with Brandon. I think Brandon and 22 are the only teams we have not beat throughout the tournament. The teams that are in there, so I think there is a lot. You see the separation there, but I think it's going to be a fun and competitive tournament. Everybody seems to have their one, for sure, a horse on the mound that they'll turn to on Tuesday. And then after that, it's up in the coach's hands to see if they want to let them ride or cut them short and hope to make it to Sunday to get them back.
Well, let's talk about your opening round opponents. Rapid City 22, a tough draw being the 10 seed going into the tournament. You played 22 about a month ago out in Rapid City. You almost took game one, but you didn't take game two. What do you need to do to kind of get that win over Rapid 22 here in the opening round of the tournament?
Well, the first thing I'll say to the Rapid is, when we played them earlier in June, it was a different schedule for us. Not to make excuses, but you were massively out of rhythm. Meaning, like, we had the weather delay. We were in the hotel, back into a hotel. Had already checked out, sat around, watched Junior Legion. Then we got to go back and find another one because of the potential storm. And then we're getting up and playing 9:30 in the morning. And I think it showed early in that game, that 4-3 game. We had guys on first and second, nobody out, and happened to run ourselves out of an inning. So I think that was just a different story to maybe where we were at the end of June, and compared to where we are heading into Tuesday's matchup. Now, Rapids really good. I mean, they're good. I mean, they're always one step above everybody else. It seems like the playing field has leveled over the years, but like my message was the other day, like these are still 17, 18-year-olds. You played them in other sports, like just because they have that hard hat, that doesn't make them any better. And with the mentality and the cleanliness, if hopefully we can play defensively, because we did feel we kind of handed that one, at least some of their runs that they did. That in that 4-3 game, that we clean things up a little bit, that's a different story, and we're right there with them. So I think the boys believe in it, and they kind of want to go, yeah, well, we were still in bed, to check out and all those other things, and just out of rhythm. So getting into a rhythm here over the next couple of days and understanding the procedure, because there's a lot going on when it comes to a state tournament, and quite frankly, last year was different for these guys that were here. I mean, it was in your hometown, and you didn't have some of that waiting around or hotels and stuff like that. So getting accustomed to a schedule over the next couple of days is going to be really important, and be ready to prepare for Tuesday night.
So one last question: how easy is it for you this year to just coach a state tournament rather than coach a state tournament, keep an eye over here, make sure this is running all right? Okay, we got these people over here. Is this just an easier thing for you to just go, okay, let's just focus on the game this year?
Well, yeah, it's different. Coming off of last year, no, don't get me wrong. I loved every part of last year. I think everybody did, and the job that we did as the city of Watertown and the Watertown Baseball Association. But it's nice just to go get on a bus and and let's not have to worry about that stuff, those types of things. And we didn't have the weather that we did last year with opening ceremonies and all that stuff and coordinating. And but yeah, this is going to be relaxing and hot. But for the moment, like I tell, state tournaments out in Rapid City are just different, and these guys need, and the parents need to know, and all the fans watching, like, take this all in, because you're not going to face, most likely you're probably not going to face a bigger crowd than you are on Tuesday night in that type of environment against the host team, with everything on the line at this moment. So enjoy the moment, enjoy the experiments, because it's going to go by faster than you think, and these are going to be memories for these guys for the rest of their lives.